picture back up of the world leaders. This is a pretty remarkable photo. You've got, Prime Minister Abbas and Prime Minister Netanyahu, President Abbas, excuse me, Angela Merkel there. This is the King of Jordan. The King of Jordan. And why is if the United States, I mean, forgive me, but if there's ever a picture that says our policy is leading from behind, that's it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, folks, welcome back. Before we get to our guest, Jeffrey Lord, if you're watching us on the Dish Network, the Dish Satellite Network, we are now broadcasting temporarily on 2 channels. Welcome aboard if this is the first time you're seeing us. But our main channel, you should know this if you're watching on Dish right now, our main channel on Dish is still channel 223. So please check us out there as well on channel 223. Now, Jeffrey Lord, contributing editor at the American Spectator and former aide to President Ronald Reagan, joins us. And Jeffrey, two great pieces by you. And I want to start with the Mr. Obama meet General De Gaulle. And you talk about the rally that Obama did not show up at, and you go back in history and you make a very poignant analogy.
Well, I have to admit, I'm old enough to remember John F. Kennedy's funeral. I was in, I guess I should say it, the 7th grade, and it was very, very distinctive. President de Gaulle, upon learning of President Kennedy's assassination, told his cabinet that he was going to go. He called the French ambassador in Washington and said, I will be there. The State Department had started planning this funeral, of course, very suddenly on a Saturday morning. The funeral was on Monday. They thought, well, they wouldn't get many world leaders, and Charles de Gaulle was the first to call in and say, I will be there. And he showed up, and of course, Mrs. Kennedy requested that everybody march behind the caisson from the White House to St. Matthew's Cathedral down Connecticut Avenue. And there are still wonderful shots of Charles de Gaulle, who was a very tall man in uniform, a former general, walking right down the middle of Connecticut Avenue. And then, of course, he was there for the funeral, at graveside at the funeral. And he always thought of himself as, I am France. And when you think that President Kennedy turned up at the Berlin Wall, that Ronald Reagan was at the Berlin Wall, understanding the importance of these moments is a very important thing for a leader. This was a seriously missed moment by President Obama.
And the lame excuses, everything from it would have disrupted the rally with all the presidential security, to it happened so quickly, we couldn't get the proper security, right on down the line. They're just grasping at straws here. I mean, if Benjamin Netanyahu could be there from Israel, even though we later learned that the president of France told him not to come, if he could get there and have his security detail, and Abbas, who I don't believe belonged there at all, could get there, then why the heck couldn't Obama have gotten there? That's
right. And, notice they don't say what he was doing that Sunday. I suspect he was probably up there in the residential quarters watching football or something. But, in a serious vein, I think that part of the problem for President Obama is that, to this moment, they don't like to acknowledge that this was Islamic terror, that there are Islamic radicals out there. And that, of course, is exactly what the French government is saying about this. So to be there, to be present, inevitably would have led to questions about this, and I think they wanted to avoid it.
Yeah, that is very, very telling. Let's talk about the flip side of this, and that is the political correctness that is permeating the media. At first the media was talking about the cartoons that led to the shooting up of the magazine, but they didn't show the cartoons. Now they're talking about the magazine making a comeback, bigger than ever, 3 million copies, and Muhammad's on the cover, but of course they're not showing Muhammad on the cover. So, I mean, the terrorists win.
Yeah, they do. I mean, this is a pretty frightening thing, Steve. I mean, you can't do what you do, what I do, and what all kinds of people in America do, which is to say express their thoughts freely, if we're going to allow terror to rule the airwaves and to rule who gets to say what and intimidate people. I mean, this is a very serious thing. And I was listening just not long ago to yet another clip of Bill Maher. I mean, I don't agree with Bill Maher worth beans on most things, but I have to say he's a really gutsy guy who has gone out there, and he is not afraid to tell the truth on this thing, and he ought to be congratulated. And frankly, I wish the president talked more like this.
Well, the president, that'll never happen. And the president, I'll say this over and over, doesn't have it in him. He is not moved by dead Christians and dead Jews at the hands of Muslim terrorists. He just obviously is not. By his reaction to the rabbis in the Jerusalem synagogue, same lack of any kind of emotion response to the French killings and not going to the rally. It just doesn't get him. But God forbid, and I mean God forbid, if a mosque were attacked by one lunatic guy in America, he'd be out there speaking about it. Jeffrey, got to go. Thank you. Always great to talk to you, Jeffrey Lord. Folks, next, Ben Stein. Don't miss him.